Our 5-2 Kansas Jayhawks, winners of 3 in a row, are set to face off against the Colorado Buffaloes. No Shedeur Sanders, no Travis Hunter, but Coach Prime is going to have these guys ready to rock and roll for this matchup. Should be a fun one and a good one, especially considering the implications of Big 12 play. In the last episode, we ended up sweeping our two opponents, Baylor and BYU. And those two matchups were certainly interesting. I know the scores look kind of lopsided, but that really wasn't the case. With 5 games left to go, I figured that one of the last 3 episodes of the regular season, we would only do 1 game for, and that's going to be today. That's why we're only doing 1 week worth of action here in this episode. So we start with the Baylor game in the last episode, and contrary to what the score will tell you, this game was actually pretty close. Going into the fourth quarter, we were only up by 10, and Baylor had the ball in the red zone. And then all hell broke loose. Within a 4-play stretch, we had an interception, a 91-yard touchdown by Ty Lord. And then as Baylor got the ball back, a safety and a 67-yard touchdown by Cornell Teamer. 4 consecutive plays from scrimmage led to 2 turnovers and 16 total points for our Kansas Jayhawks, who had a really good game defensively, and then the offense kind of ran wild. And then here against BYU, we won by 3 scores, but we were down going into the fourth. I think Noah Lugo's stat line is a perfect description of this game. A little bit of everything. Much like the Baylor game, this one was very competitive, and then we kind of ran away with it late. Clyde Poole had the best rushing game of his career. Granted, he fumbled it for the first time this year. Cornell Teamer with 2 late, long touchdowns in both of these matchups, and we ended up combining for an absurd 95 points across the 2 games. Again, granted, we were able to get a lot of points in garbage time with a couple of big runs in both games. I wanted to do a stat update, given that we're going to go through a little less in today's episode. Through 7 games, Clyde Poole has thrown 14 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. He's already passed his interceptions total from last year, but that's been offset by the fumbles. He had 10 fumbles last year, just 1. This year, he's been a little bit more efficient as a runner, and he's currently 6th in all of college football in rushing, and he's right there with Darius Taylor and Dante Daldell as the most efficient rushers in the nation. And both of those guys are currently projected to go in the first round, which speaks to how good of company Clyde Poole is in. Otherwise, the youngsters are continuing to produce. Ty Lord has been our best running back so far. Granted, I think his and Teamer's averages are very inflated by a couple of big runs, especially in the last episode. Our team doesn't seem to get like many 20 to 30 yard runs. It seems like it's all or nothing, and every big run is like a 60-yard house call. Amani Law has been our best receiver. Granted, he was pretty quiet in each of the last 2 games. Maddox, Lamore, and Jones have all been pretty solid. I definitely want to get Lamore and Jones the ball more consistently, though. So as you can see, we are number 1 in terms of offensive yardage. We're low on the passing total, but look at where we are in terms of rushing. We're in first place, and it's not even close. We had the best rushing offense in America. We had the most rushing touchdowns. We had the highest scoring team. Now, granted, I think part of that is playing in the Big 12 with a lot of very offense-happy teams. And then the second and third highest scoring teams are Florida and UAB, 2 teams who we played against this year. So I think us being in first place is partly a product of our schedule, but also shows how good we've been offensively this year. As good as the offense has been with all the young talent on that side of the ball, obviously the defense has been another story. The pass rush has really gotten alive over the last couple of weeks, though. Travion Ford has been one of the best defensive linemen in the nation. Dekias Brinkley is 1 sack away from breaking the all-time school record for sacks. However, defensively, it's just been really inconsistent. We're towards the bottom 10 in terms of total yards allowed. At least we're not worse than Ohio State and Texas. We had the worst passing defense in America, which really is not all that surprising. In terms of points, we're towards the bottom of the pack. But interestingly, we are high in terms of turnovers. A lot of turnovers on both sides of the ball. So what you're getting with Kansas is a team who's going to have a lot of action on offense, a lot of action on defense, and a lot of turnovers. The most interesting team stat I found is that we are 4th in terms of third down percentage on offense. That kind of surprised me, but that's certainly a good thing to be efficient on third down, and I think the biggest reason for that is Clyde Poole's ability to scramble. So we're going to go through recruiting early in today's episode, kind of like how I formatted it back in Season 1. So as we simulate, we get some good news on the recruiting trail. 4-star offensive tackle Kiki Hall has committed, originally from Lincoln, Nebraska, transferred to Mission Viejo, California, and is now kind of returning home, going to the University of Kansas. He visited the campus last week for our win against BYU, as did offensive guard Frank Story, and this is a big get for us. From Center Grove High School, Frank Story is a top 40 recruit in the entire nation and the top-ranked player we have gotten to sign with us so far, and somebody who could certainly be a future starter on the offensive line. So those two guys commit. We were expecting both of them to commit here, but it's nice that we now know for sure. In terms of some other guys narrowing their list down, 5 new players are down to 3 schools. We are in first for 3 of them and second for 2 of them. So there's going to be some tight battles. With Nicholas Scotland Williamson, UAB has passed both us and UCF. We'll dive deeper into him in a little bit. Caleb Wilson visited this past week. We are in first, along with Sam Banovich, and then the 5-star Quinn Coatney. It is a really close race for him. While for Santiago Chavez, it's not looking too great. He is visiting us this week, but Texas Tech seems to be going all in for him. So Hall and Story now join our class, and of course, I feel like last year's class we focused on the outside, skill position guys, and defensive backs. Well, this year we've really focused on the trenches. The offensive and defensive lines is really where we've spent a lot of our attention, and we've got some really good linemen on both sides of the ball so far, and we're going to hopefully continue to do so. We've got a few really tight battles, specifically for quarterback Carl Willingham. We talked about how close his recruitment was in the last episode, and I'm pleased to report that we are now in first place. He is visiting us this week as well, so I think that should be enough to hopefully close the deal. His recruitment is probably the closest I've ever seen. As for Nicholas Scotland Williamson, not quite as good. We had the lead in a tight battle with UCF, but he had a great visit at UAB, who has passed both of us. Now, he is visiting us this week along with Willingham, so I would expect one of those guys to commit, more likely than not, Carl Willingham. Caleb Wilson is in first, but Arkansas seems to still have more overall influence than us. Banovich we're in first. Look how close this is for Quinn Coatney. We've taken the lead after the visit, but I'm not overly confident because he visits Penn State this week, and Ohio State has more resources than us. They could easily pass us. We've got a number of guys ready for visits, but there aren't that many guys who I actually really want to have come next week against Kansas State. One player who I do really want to have go to this game is Sam Chong. We're in the lead for him, but he visits Boston College this week, and I don't want Boston College to pass us. So we're going to have him visit for this game against Kansas State. It's risky, given how big of the game it is with 2 really good teams and 2 rivals. There's a big reward if we were to win the game, but a big loss if we don't win. Running back Greg Yu will also go on the visit, given the now unlikelihood we get of landing the other running back, Scotland Williamson. I want to focus on Greg Yu a little bit as well. I thought about giving this visit to 5-star defensive end Afa G. I decided not to because Kansas State is the other school who is super interested in him, but we are going to start to give him a lot of points, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But the big storylines this week are Willingham and Scotland Williamson. Both of those guys will be visiting for this week's game against Colorado. Wilson and Coatney, those guys already had their visits. We're kind of just hoping for the best. Santiago Chavez will be visiting this week, as will defensive end Josh Metz. As for Afa G, I'm putting 75 points into him now. I'm done waiting with him. I think this is a guy who is the best player on our board and somebody who's going to start for us right away next year. I don't want to lose out on him, so we're going to get ahead of it before everybody else does. So that sets us up now for our matchup here against Colorado. The Buffaloes are 3-4 this season. They had big preseason expectations entering the year ranked, and it hasn't necessarily materialized. But there is some things to like about this team. I don't really have a very good read on them. Their 4 losses are all against ranked opponents. Granted, Georgia Tech and NC State were not ranked at the time of those games. But they barely lost to UCF, and they barely lost to Kansas State, 2 of the best teams in the Big 12. They also barely beat Houston, who is not particularly good. Colorado doesn't have that hard of a schedule after this game, so if they beat us, there is a world where they run the table and potentially go to the conference championship game. They are in 9th. They need all the help we can get, whereas we are currently in 4th. We have climbed all the way back up since our early loss to Arizona. So as we look at Colorado, they're led by junior quarterback Ryan Staub. He's no Shedeur Sanders but he gets the job done. This team is led by the ground game, though. Isaiah Augustave, one of the best running backs in the country. We talked about him in the last episode of the Denver Broncos franchise, as he's currently projected in the second round. Wide receiver, they've got some good players. Amarion Miller, Terrell Timmons Jr., a potential NFL prospect. And they've got some really good players on the offensive line, most notably the former 5-star Jordan Seaton. Coach Prime has done a great job recruiting. They have an 83 overall true freshman linebacker with Kalen Norman. He will not go today. He is injured, but they've got plenty of other talented freshmen. Speaking of, we've got a decision to make involving the redshirt of Devin Murphy. He's played in 4 games. This is where we would have to redshirt him, and I don't think I'm going to. He's played really well over the last couple of weeks, and I think he's earned the opportunity to keep playing out the rest of the season. So let's get this show on the road. Number 13, 5-2 Kansas hosting Colorado. 2 teams who certainly could really use this win in terms of Big 12 play. Kansas looking to push themselves towards the top. Colorado with 3 losses would basically be out of the race for the conference title as the Buffaloes start with it. On first down, Ryan Staub under pressure, rolls out, looking deep, downfield, he's got Timmons! And Terrell Timmons Jr. brings it all the way to the 38-yard line. It's a gain of 44, and as much as we've been down on the coverage this year, they could have done a better job on that play, the pass rush has to get home, as it's a loss of a yard for Augustave. He's wrapped up by Dekias Brinkley, hoping to break the sack record today as it's 3rd and 11. Staub looks to throw it, looking downfield. It's broken up in and out of the hands of the true freshman Quantavius Landers, who had his second career interception a week ago. And after allowing the big play early, Kansas forces the punt. They'll get it back on offense as on 3rd and 5. The curl around is broken up. The true freshman Amani Law was the intended target, so that'll lead to a punt. Both defenses looking good early. A little bit of a surprise. Colorado back with it on offense. Staub up the middle with a strike to around the 30. Really nice throw by Staub, threading the needle. That was Timmons again as he looks up the middle. Nice first down into the red zone. The Buffaloes are really getting something going here. 3rd and 1, RPO screen. Terrell Timmons Jr. has space, walks it in. What a start for Timmons. He already has 5 catches for over 60 yards and now a touchdown. Perfect timing for the Buffaloes. They lead at 7-0. Really strong drive by Colorado. They moved it pretty well on their first drive too, but we're unable to get points out of it. Read option, Poole loses 3. He's wrapped up by Quincy Wiggins, one of the better defensive players on this team, coming off the edge. After a loss of 4 at 2nd down, Poole's pass is caught for a quick first by Rajon Jones. I want to get Jones more opportunities in the short game. I feel like whenever we connect with him, it's on a deep ball. Play action for Teamer. On the run, Poole looking deep. He's got his tight end, Isaiah Lamort, who brings it to around the 34. We're throwing the ball quite well on this drive. Poole has been efficient as we've now got it past the 35. 2nd and 10. It's a screen for Ty Lord, the standout true freshman running back, and he gets it to around the 20. Lord had a career high in carries a week ago against BYU. Wasn't all that impressive in that game, but had nearly 140 yards in the win against Baylor. On 3rd down, trying to thread the needle for Maddox. It's off the mark. That'll bring out the field goal unit. The kick isn't perfectly centered, but I think this should be good enough for Anthony Escalante. It's a 36-yarder to put Kansas on the board with a little over a minute left in the quarter, and it splits through the uprights right down the middle. Anthony Escalante has Kansas with some points as it's now 7-3. Colorado gets it back for their 3rd drive. Staub alone in the backfield. They haven't tried to run it much as he is picked off. Landers does it again, and he's got space to the 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Pick 6 with some showboating at the end for the true freshman, Quantavius Landers. His 3rd career interception, his 1st career house call, and Kansas' first touchdown of the game comes on the defensive side of the football. What a play there by Landers, who I really feel like has gotten better each and every week. We're seeing the ball skills really come alive, and I feel like he's gotten better in coverage. He hasn't been burned as much over the top, unlike everybody else on this team, and I feel like on a play-by-play basis, he's been quite solid. Colorado back with it on 1st down. Staub under pressure. He is sacked for a huge loss. Champ Tompkins brings him down. It's a loss of 11, and it's now 3rd down and 21. They've got it at the 14. Staub Looks to throw it. Downfield, open! It's Cam McKell, the redshirt sophomore. 84 yards to the house. Ball don't lie. Colorado with a long touchdown of their own, offsetting the pick six. I was a little bit understanding of allowing the big touchdowns early in the year, but it's our 8th game of this season. When is this going to be fixed? Jalen Todd was off by a step, and that's all Colorado needed. Ryan Staub with 182 passing yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception just through the first quarter. I feel like that photo is a perfect description of the Kansas defense. A lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, but you can't forget about the turnover. 2nd and 8, Jayhawks back with it. Wide open, this is Maddox. He is out of bounds past the 35-yard line. Good decision there by Clyde Poole to go underneath. Turns into a solid gain for Mario Maddox as he gets around 14. Following play, it's a handoff to the right side. Ty Lord finds some room and gets it past the 50. An impressive run for Lord, showing off his impressive ball carrier vision as it's now 3rd and 3. We'll go with Cornell Teamer, and he's just going to try to center the kick as much as possible. He realizes that's going nowhere quick. A loss of 2 for Teamer, and it's going to be a sort of longish field goal, but I think the kick is centered enough. 49 yards for Escalante. Doink! No good. He misses it. At first glance, it looked like it was going to go in, but it just kept going and going to the right, and it's just a little bit off the mark. It'll remain a 4-point lead for Colorado off of the miss by Anthony Escalante. I don't necessarily think that was an issue with the hashes. I just feel like that ball kind of died down and the wind sort of took it to the right. So Colorado's got it, 3rd and 10. Ryan Staub up the middle. Nice throw and catch. That's a first down for guess who? Terrell Timmons Jr. He's been all over the field in this first half. As this one is broken up on 3rd down, Devontae Crispin is the one who makes the play, jarring it out of the hands of Cam McKell, who had the touchdown earlier. Colorado elects to punt it. Kansas has it back. Poole steps up in the pocket, looks to scramble, and he can't get much, maybe a yard. That's the first time Clyde Poole has scrambled all day. He had the loss of 4 on the option and then that play. Poole at his best rushing game of his career last week, and today he's not running it at all. So with around 5 minutes to go, Colorado's going to get it back. They're looking at a 2nd and 15, though, as they finally are going to run the ball. And Augustave throws the defender on the ground. That was Taylor Davis. Colorado's not trying to run the ball, and to be fair, the passing game has been working, but they've got to mix in Augustave. He's one of the best running backs in the nation. Going no huddle, they'll go right back to him with more space up the middle. Jukes away from the defender and is wrapped up by Davis. Isaiah Augustave is a really, really good prospect. 6'2", 210 pounds, can run in between the tackles, but as you can see, he's explosive and can make guys miss. Play action, Staub up the middle, wide open, brings it inside the 10. 7 catches for 107 yards now for Terrell Timmons. 3rd and goal, short throw is caught. That's not going to be enough for the end zone. That's Cam McKell, who only gets around 4, and that'll bring out the field goal unit. This should be a chip shot, a 20-yarder for Ted Robles to put Colorado up by 7. His kick is up, and it is through. So it's now 17-10. Kansas will get it back, down by a touchdown, looking to tie the game before going into half. Our offense really has not been that impressive today. We have no touchdowns on the offensive side of the ball. Remember, it was a pick 6. Here's Lord up the middle. This is a good start. Another first down run for Ty Lord. 2nd and 8 after the 2-minute timeout. Short throw is caught. This is Harry Stewart, the running back, who gets the first down past the 45-yard line. We're moving it pretty well here on this drive. 2nd and 5. Poole looks to throw it. Gonna run to the left side. He had some open receivers, but is going to take it himself. Slides forward past the 40. A good run there for Clyde Poole. And I think we're in a good spot here with the clock. We've got all 3 timeouts. As Poole's going to look to scramble again. This time he's not as successful. Sacked on the play. Nice job there by Quincy Wiggins. 2nd and 11. Look at Clyde. Plenty of room to the outside. He's out of bounds past the 20. So that'll stop the clock. A nice run by Poole, who's looking to run it a lot more here on this drive. So now Kansas has it in the red zone with a great chance to tie it up. Poole on first down, steps up, scrambles again. Another first down run for Clyde Poole, and he brings it inside the 10. Colorado is keeping spies in the first quarter, but I guess they've gone away with it, and it's backfired. Lord has it. 3rd and goal. Powers his way through. In for a touchdown. We needed that one badly, and we were able to choose some clock here on the goal line to make sure Colorado's not going to have much time with the football. There's only 14 seconds left. But we needed this touchdown drive bad. Through our first, I think, 5 possessions of the game, we only had 3 points. I mean, that's just not enough. We got lucky with the defensive touchdown by Landers, but the offense, despite moving it down the field semi-well, was not scoring. So to have that drive, to go into half, give us some momentum, is a big deal. I thought we had a really good possession by Clyde Poole, making the necessary throws, but more so, some of the plays he made with his legs. Finished off by a touchdown from Ty Lord, who had another really strong half, continuing his fantastic freshman season. I mean, he quickly has turned into one of the best players on this team, and we're going to continue the running back rotation because I want to keep everybody fresh, and we've got a lot of good players back there. But right now, Ty Lord is clearly the best running back on this football team. So Kansas has it to start the second half. This is Jazir Tolbert with room to the left side, gets the first down. I really wanted to give Tolbert a lot of run last week, but he got injured in the second quarter. We decided to play it safe. I've wanted to give him extra carries today, but he really hasn't done much. Losing yardage there, wrapped up by Samuel Okunola. It's a loss of around 3 for Big Tolbert. 2nd and 13 now for the Jayhawks. It's going to be a read option, and it's going to be another TFL for the big fella, Okunola. Back-to-back plays for the talented senior defensive end, and it's 3rd and 15. Poole looks to throw it now. Looking up the middle, he's got Amani Law, who nearly gets the first down. It's a gain of around 12. Not going to be enough, though. 4th down and 3. The offense is going to stay on the field. We know the Jayhawks love to be aggressive, and look who it is in at running back. Ty Lord trying to fight for the yardage. He does not get it. And Amani Law is grabbing at his hamstring. I have a hard time figuring out go-to play calls on 4th and short because our team is so inconsistent in those short yardage spots. 2nd and 9. Staub is sacked by who else other than Travion Ford. He's now got 8.5 sacks on the year. What a season it has been for him, playing himself into the first round. Looked like Devin Murphy was there as well. 3rd and 13. Staub's pass is broken up, incomplete. Good play by Damani Maxson. So that'll force a punt. At least Colorado doesn't score off of our 4th down failure. 2nd and 1. Poole has an open man downfield. It's Rajon Jones past the 20. He's going to fight for yardage inside the 10. With Amani Law banged up and not back in the game, Rajon Jones becomes the number 1 outside receiving threat. We're going to do some experimenting, though, receiver. Look at the right side. That's Ty Lord in the game out wide. On 2nd and goal, Poole steps up, scrambles, and he rushes in for a touchdown. Kansas is back ahead. Clyde Poole is a magician. Call him Houdini, as it's 24-17. Good job by the offensive line to create the gap, and of course, Clyde Poole does the rest. So Colorado's got it back, down by 7. Their offense has gone cold. They had the big first quarter, but only 3 points since then. Augustave loses yardage. Brandon Hines, the true freshman, leads the way for the Kansas defense, and it is now a 3rd down. I think Dekias Brinkley was there as well. 3rd and 6. Staub's pass is broken up. Good defense there by Landers. Another really nice play by the true freshman corner. Kansas gets it back, looking to carry on the momentum. 3rd down, it's Jazir Tolbert, and this is the Jazir Tolbert we're looking for, the guy fighting for extra yards. He's been pretty quiet today, but we know what he's capable of when he puts his head down. On 1st down, Poole takes a shot, and it is caught! That's Cornell Teamer to the 5 for a gain of around 36. As I said, we're experimenting at receiver. Cornell Teamer makes a great play. Maybe we need to put him there more. 1st and goal, it's Thompson in at quarterback. Teamer gets it, and he's rewarded with his big catch, getting a walk-in touchdown. However, it will not count. This one is coming back. A holding call against the right guard, Amir Herring. So the touchdown is off the board, and the Jayhawks are back at the 14, and Clyde Poole is back in the game. Read option on 2nd and goal. Clyde's got room to the left side, looking for another rushing score, and he's in! Clyde Poole in for a rushing touchdown, and Kansas adds to the lead. His 2nd of the afternoon, 2nd of the 3rd quarter, and it's 31-17 with a few seconds to go in the 3rd. I was really worried after our missed fourth down conversion that we could be in trouble, but since then we have dominated, taken over this game with 2 rushing touchdowns by Clyde Poole. With a win, we look to continue to advance ourselves in the rankings, of course, with a meeting against Kansas State, currently ranked number 8, in the Sunflower Showdown next week here at Lawrence. Colorado's got to get something going here early in the fourth. They have just 3 points since the start of the second. It's a 1st and 20, and Augustave's going backwards. Dekias Brinkley has had a really good game in run defense. Still looking for that record-breaking sack, though. 2nd and 23. Staub under pressure. Has to watch out for the safety. Short pass is caught. Omarion Miller with a great play after the catch, and he turns it into a first down. 29 yards for Miller. That's unacceptable. We've got to finish that play way sooner than that. That should have been no more than about 10 yards. Instead, he got nearly 30. Past the 40-yard line, play action, and Staub is sacked. The standout freshman, Devin Murphy, brings him down. This kid has really been impressive. He didn't win a job out of spring ball, but with Kerry Folk not really making much of an impact, we gave Murphy a chance, and he has been balling. On 3rd down, Staub is picked off. Taylor Davis with the interception, I believe his 3rd of the year, and Kansas gets it back on offense. Again, this secondary has no shortage of ball hawks. Our 2nd pick of the game. So the Jayhawks look to add to the lead. 3rd and 5 up the middle. Passes short for Isaiah Lamore's legs. And Colorado is going to get it right back. The turnover proves to not be that big of a deal, as it's a handoff to the left side. This is not Augustave, but it's Brandon Hood, the redshirt sophomore, who's going to likely be the starting running back over the next 2 years with Augustave gone. Good gain for the Buffaloes. That'll keep the chains moving as they look to keep moving quickly with around 6 to go. On 1st down, another sack! Devin Murphy turning into a superstar in front of our very eyes. Murphy now with 2.5 sacks in this one. 4.5 over the last 3 weeks, I believe. 3rd and 19. Staub under pressure, looking deep for the end zone. It's batted down by Brian Dilworth. 4th and 19. What choice do they have? With around 5 minutes to go, Colorado will look to go for it. At around the 45, they've got to get it to the 26. Here is Ryan Staub looking deep for the end zone. No, incomplete. Excellent coverage by Quantavius Landers, making sure he wasn't called for a PI, but staying with the receiver the entire time and making a play on the ball. 3rd and 4. Here's Poole, steps up in the pocket, and he is sacked. Nice play by Quincy Wiggins, his 2nd of the game. Wiggins with 4 TFLs and 2 sacks as Colorado gets it back. Under 3 minutes to go here in the 4th. The Buffs have it at the 32. Staub under pressure, hit as he throws, and it's caught. Nice pass, gets it to around the 20-yard line. That's Terrell Timmons, his first catch of the second half after a huge first half. Following play, Staub under pressure, there it is! The most sacks by a Kansas Jayhawk ever. 25 for Dekias Brinkley, as it's now 3rd and 11. Staub looks to throw it, scrambling around, looking for the end zone. It's incomplete as he was hit while he threw it. 4th and 11. Obviously, Colorado will look to go for it again. Staub for the end zone. He's picked. Taylor Davis, his 2nd of the game, 3rd for the team, and Kansas will get it back, looking to finish this game off for good. Davis now with interception number 4 on the season, tying Brian Dilworth, as Kansas looks at a 3rd down and 14. Up the middle, solid gain from Harry Stewart. Not enough for a first down, so Colorado will get it back for one more play. We do have a flag, though. It's a holding against the offense on Isaiah Lamore. Colorado's going to rightfully decline the penalty. They are certainly going to take the ball back. Staub on 1st down from the 47 is picked again! Exodus Ayers! First of his career! And he's going to dive down at around the 30-yard line. The game's over. We don't need more showmanship. Ayers, I'm sure, wanted that first career pick 6. Doesn't happen, though. And that's going to wrap this game up. 31-17, your final. It wasn't always pretty, but we got the job done. And we are now 4-1 in Big 12 play. Winners of 4 in a row. 6-2 overall. Getting set for our biggest game of the year, the Sunflower Showdown against our arch rivals, the Kansas State Wildcats. Really good showing by Clyde Poole. He was super efficient, completed around 76% of his passes, kept the ball out of harm's way, and after not really scrambling at all, in the first quarter. We got to see him make some magic, 2 rushing touchdowns in the third quarter. We did not score at all in the fourth, despite constantly getting the ball back with all those turnovers. But Colorado didn't score at all in the second half. They had a couple nice drives, the big play by Cam McKell in the first quarter, and I was kind of concerned. After the first quarter, Colorado only scored 3 points, and they had nothing in the second half. Again, really efficient game from Clyde Poole. Didn't make a ton of big throws, but he was really solid. Led the team in rushing. Ty Lord finishing in second. We still want more out of Jazir Tolbert and Cordell Teamer. They've both been inconsistent this year. The talent, I know, is there with them, but they've had some not-so-good performances this year, but we've seen the flashes. Through the air, it was certainly a mixed bag. Another quiet game for Amani Law. Granted, he got injured, and once he pulled his hamstring, we did not bring him back into the game, experimenting with Ty Lord and Cornell Teamer at receiver. Got to give the defense a ton of credit. We really started off slow, but then 3 points in the final 3 quarters, and again, nothing in the second half. Devin Murphy might have been the best defensive player on the field for us. That kid is a shining star. Taylor Davis was also fantastic. Exodus Ayers, meanwhile, with his first career interception, the transfer a couple years ago from Oregon State. As for Ryan Staub, a busy stat line, which is usually the case when quarterbacks play against those. A lot of yards, couple of touchdowns, and then 4 interceptions. Our defense's second consecutive week with 4 picks. Terrell Timmons had 7 catches for over 100 yards in the first half, but we really shut him down in the second half. And they didn't use Isaiah Augustave enough. I get they were throwing the ball really well in the first half. Then the offense slowed down, and then once they maybe thought to change the game plan, they were down by 14. But you still got to give your best player the ball more. Quincy Wiggins had a good game, but otherwise nobody on their defense really stood out. So we're going to simulate the week. There are no top 25 matchups, which, yeah, there's no crazy good game, but maybe we get some wild upsets. We're going to start in South Carolina, the game that I'm most curious about this week outside of the Big 12. Unbeaten Florida, the only team without a loss in the entire country this year, facing off against an up-and-coming South Carolina team, and this game was as advertised. South Carolina looks like the real deal. They look like a team who's going to be contending in the near future, but Florida looks like a team who's going to be contending right now. 45-35 your final. The Gators are now 8-0, passing their win total in either of the first 2 seasons of the series. Really good game by DJ Lagway, and given his performances this year, I'm curious to see if he considers entering the NFL draft. I think there's a real shot he would be the second quarterback off the board behind Dante Moore. Really strong game from the quarterback, Corin LaRoque, continuing his fantastic year for South Carolina, but it was not enough. Okay, this is a huge game right here. Utah and Arizona State, the only 2 unbeaten teams in Big 12 conference play. So either one of these teams losing is good news for us, and ultimately, Arizona State continues their improbable season. They were not supposed to have a very good season. They were projected to finish at the bottom of the Big 12. They're now 7-1, 5-0 in conference, the only unbeaten team in Big 12 play, and they're finally ranked number 17. Never wrong, just early. I feel like that's how it is with Kenny Dillingham. It's coming 2 years later. Isaac Wilson picked off 4 times, so the defense really leading the way for the Sun Devils. 2 interceptions for each of their outside corners, Ramel Lewis Jr. and Keontae Bradley. USC, who was ranked number 1 last week, lost their first game of the year, so they came into this one extra focused and put on a show. The redshirt freshman quarterback Sam Onatulu threw 7 more touchdowns, including this one, to the Heisman frontrunner Xavier Jordan. 55-10 is your final. Sam Onatulu is the real deal. This kid is spectacular. He looks like the next-rate quarterback prospect. And then look at the stats for these receivers. Xavier Jordan has 39 catches this year. 17 have gone for touchdowns. That is absurd. What a year for the redshirt sophomore. As for Zachariah Branch, we talked about his inconsistencies in the last episode of the Broncos series, so it's good to see him with a big game along with Jalen Moss. If you thought this was bad, buckle up. I'm about to make this poor Syracuse Orange mascot's life ruined. So Syracuse is playing against Clemson. Big day offensively for the Tigers. They got 28 in the first quarter, 17 more in the second, 7 in the third, and then they erupted for 31 in the fourth. For those of you counting at home, that is, buckle up, 83 points! 83-7, your final. Clemson stomps on Syracuse. The way my jaw dropped when I first saw that score, 10 offensive touchdowns for Clemson, 5 for Lenoris Sellers. through the air. And then keep in mind, they did this without David Eziomame, their starting running back. Tyler Brown, what a game for him. He finished with 11 touches for just shy of 300 scrimmage yards and 5 all-purpose touchdowns. In the last episode of the Broncos series, we talked about him as someone who's kind of under the radar, fringe top 100 pick. He's not under the radar anymore. Shame on the Syracuse defense for allowing that to happen. LSU facing off against Tennessee. Unfortunately, neither team in this game scored 80, but it ended up being a pretty good game with an upset. LSU shocks the Vols 33-27. LSU's been a weird team in this series. They're only 4-4. They've never been all that impressive. As for Tennessee, they lose their second game of the year. A little bit of everything for the true freshman, Philandros Spiro. I would say today they certainly missed their regular starter, Jake Merklinger, who should be back from injury. We wrap up with Purdue, 5-2. They've lost 2 in a row, facing off against Michigan State, who very quietly is also 5-2. And the Spartans would wind up winning this game, getting the upset. The way I was shocked when I saw Michigan State's record, if you had told me they were 2-5, I would have believed you. Michigan State had a rough start to the year, more MAC conference losses, but they have been winning games in the Big Ten. They are 4-0 right now. As for Purdue, they've now dropped 3 games in a row. I understood it over the last 2 weeks. They played against USC and Oregon. Both games were somewhat competitive, but losing to Michigan State, I get they're 6-2, but losing to Michigan State is not a good look. Across the rest of the nation, Boston College defeats the struggling Florida State Seminoles. Alabama over Texas in the Battle of Mid. UCF and Maryland are able to get some wins. Stanford is finally ranked, long overdue. Now, they only beat Bowling Green by 1, so maybe this wasn't the week to rank them, but they should have been there for a while. Mississippi State, number 19. Look at the Bulldogs go. In the Big 12, West Virginia, proven to be fraudulent. They've lost 3 of their last 4. Iowa State still winless in conference play. Kansas State takes care of business. So both us and the Wildcats will be 4-1 in conference play going into that game. Arizona loses to Cincinnati, and Baylor shuts out BYU. Across the rest of the country, some more interesting results to discuss. Ohio State actually won. They beat Northwestern by 4. Georgia Tech upset by Pitt. The Yellow Jackets now outside of the top 25 rankings for the first time in a few weeks. Oregon State's been playing some good football. Texas A&M, not so much. They dropped 1 to Ole Miss. The Aggies are now 4-4, out of the rankings, and the reigning runners-up do not look to be in the playoff race much longer. Arkansas State loses again, as does UAB. The Blazers drop a game to Rice. I felt like UAB was the clear Group 5 favorite to make the playoff, followed by Arkansas State, but maybe not. So this is what the media poll looks like. We are now number 12, but that's not really the poll that matters anymore. We've got to look at the college football playoff poll. The first college football playoff rankings are now up, and we are number 12. Normally, that would be a good thing, because it is a 12-team playoff. But there is no Group of 5 schools ranked ahead of us. There's a lot on our tail, though. But Charlotte right now is the highest-ranked Group of 5 school, so they end up moving above us. Arizona State and Stanford as well are ranked below us, but they also have other teams in their conference there, so I still kind of view us as the first team out right now behind Charlotte. Third right now in terms of conference standings. We can look to rise that against Kansas State as Tyler Brown obviously wins the Player of the Week along with Jeremiah Beasley. And then in the Big 12, Quincy Wiggins wins it. Deservedly so. I was hoping for Devin Murphy, though, but I get it. Xavier Jordan still in first for the Heisman. Tyler Brown moves up to third. I think his quarterback, Lenora Sellers, was previously in third. As for the bowl projections, we're slated to play in the Alamo Bowl against Notre Dame, the first 2 teams out of the playoff right now. That would be a good game, but obviously I would rather a playoff matchup. And if we do want to go to the playoff, this is the game to win. Sunflower Showdown against number 9 Kansas State, our biggest game of the year. And then after that, we've got Houston as well, so that should be fun. Hope everybody enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Rock Chalk.